Get ready to be inspired by the great things happening in rural education. The Rural Scoop will bring you new ideas and innovative solutions. We'll dive into education issues and we'll highlight what's working in your rural communities. You will hear from a variety of educators, administrators, professionals, and others who will provide relevant and engaging content in each episode. And now, serving up the scoop, here's your host, Dr. Melissa Saydorf.
Well, I'm excited to be able to talk to a fellow superintendent. Adam Cheeseman is going to be joining me today to discuss his work as a seated superintendent, and also he's getting into keynoting and doing conferences, and I'm excited to talk to him about what he's doing with those kinds of opportunities. And so, Adam, good morning and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here on the Rural Scoop.
Well, good morning, Melissa. I appreciate the opportunity and looking forward to diving into this and being with you for a little bit. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, before we get started with the questions that I have, can you introduce yourself to the listeners and just give us an idea of where you are and what you do and how you came to be there?
Absolutely. So as was said, I am Adam Cheeseman. I'm 39 years old. I became the superintendent of Doddridge County Schools at the young age of 31. And so I've been serving in this capacity for about 8 years. It has been a terrific experience. It's been just an amazing journey, and a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but we've seen tremendous growth. We've seen tremendous progress, and it's been a true team effort. My wife and I actually just celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We've got three beautiful girls who are 15, 12, and 11. And it is truly how I know God has a sense of humor, right? Having three girls who are all now getting into that teenage, age there. And so they keep us hopping for sure. Been an educator, since I left college. So since I was 22, I walked into a full-time teaching position. And so around 17 years in education. In terms of ed leadership, spent 1 year as an assistant principal at a local high school, 1 year as an assistant principal at Doddridge County Elementary School, and then made the jump to superintendent, like I said, 8 years ago. So it's been kind of a non-traditional path, I suppose, to school leadership, to the superintendency, which would probably describe my mindset and my vision. We try to do things in a very innovative way, not afraid to be a little bit different. It's not been your conventional path, but it's been good. And the last thing I would say in terms of introduction, I'm also a preacher, been a minister since I was 21 years old. So been doing that for about 18 years. Very, very important part of who I am, and really the message that I share.
So you mentioned that you've been there at Doddridge since you graduated from college and stepped into the world of education. And Doddridge is a rural community. Can you tell us a little bit more about your rurality and give us a sense of what that means to be in rural Doddridge?
Yeah. And you're right. Doddridge County is very rural. And actually, after graduation, I went back to my home county of Work County. I should have said that for about 4 years, which is even more rural than what Doddridge would be. In West Virginia, though, even our most urbanized areas are still largely rural. And so in Doddridge County, though, I taught for 2 years, was administrator. So I've been in the county for around 12 years now. We have in our district about 1,155 students. That's as of yesterday. As you know, enrollment is kind of, a give and take there. About 8,000 people live in Doddridge County. We do have now 2 stoplights that run through Route 50, which is the main road that goes through the county. There are 2 different locations where there's a stoplight. In West Union, which is the county seat, there's no stoplights. Very small town. Some businesses on Main Street, a couple banks, some churches. Just it's your typical rural community, rural city. Of our school population, around 55% would be considered in poverty, free and reduced lunch. Now, our entire county actually receives free and reduced lunch, but the actual number is about 55, and again, it fluctuates a little bit. The oil and gas industry has come in to Doddridge County. We do have some fracking that's took place, and so that's helped the budget a little bit from a school standpoint, but it's not translated to our people, right? And so, still very poverty-stricken community. To kind of give you a little more sense of how rural we are. CityNet is a local telecommunication company. They are now bringing broadband internet, and they believe they can reach the entire county, right? So here we are in 2024, and we still have several locations in the county that don't have internet. And if they do, it's not quality, right?
Right.
And so there was some grant monies that occurred, and CityNet has actually got the bid to come in and do that. And we've partnered with them, which we'll probably get into at some point. But just to give you an idea as to where we are in terms of our people and some of the struggles. Our kids. My goodness, the trauma that we see our students in, day in and day out. You just want to think, gosh, does this stuff really happen? And it does. They're coming from places that we don't know if they're being fed. We don't know, how are they being treated? A lot of our kids come from broken homes, broken families. We've got a very large number of our students being raised by grandparents, and God bless those grandparents. But they're at a different stage of life. And so it's a little more difficult for them to help and support these young people. And, we're seeing it all over. And so I guess I would say we're no different when it comes to that. So we have a holistic child department that we have launched that helps meet the physical, social, emotional needs of our kids. And help support some of these we call grand families, along the way. So yeah, we've had some good success, and we're proud of that, but we're not exempt from the rural struggles that exist.
Sure. And you talk about that wellness component. You were just featured recently in a AASA magazine talking about that programming. And that's amazing that you're able to wrap around some of the needs that your students have with your community.
Yeah, that was been at the heart of the tenure here. In 2016, when I came into the role, the board, was very supportive then, very supportive now. But they looked at me and they said, okay, what do you think we need, right? And the first thing I looked and I said, we've got to address some of these mental health concerns, some of these holistic issues that are there. I said, if you want your test scores to increase, which that's what we all want. We all want to see our achievement scores. We want to see growth. We want to see our kids learning and excelling. In order today, more than ever, in order for that to happen, the kids have to be cared for in the physical, in the social, in the emotional. And I know there's always been this debate, I guess you could say, or difference of opinion that says, well, that needs to be done at home, right? Those are things that be done. You need to. Well, reality is this: if we don't do it, who's going to? These kids aren't getting what they need at home. And I'm not even being critical of the home. I don't know the situations that people are in, but there's some trying times, right? There are things that happen in a rural community with limited access. We see our kids fall in, to this generational kind of poverty, whatever you want to call it. I believe as an educator, it's our job and we're called to serve those kids. And yeah, do we take on a little more of a parental role now? Maybe, right? And we've told our staff that. And that was new to the staff in Doddridge County. Seeing the growth of them understanding that, hey, times of education now, you're just not coming in and teaching a kid how to write, or you're not just coming in and teach them their multiplication facts, and letting them process and providing a lot of professional development, and letting them see, or just watching our staff grow from 2016 saying, that's not really our job, to 2024 saying, okay, something has triggered Johnny, right? These behaviors are happening because something's at home and we need to take care of that. And so in 2016, the first thing I asked the board, I said, can we hire a mental health specialist? Can we get somebody in here that can help, launch the program here, the Holistic Child Program, to give some support? And they said, absolutely. And so we did that. 2018, we grew the program. 2021, we grew a little bit more. Now our Holistic Child Department consists of 6 individuals, right? We had about 225, 230 staff members. So 6 of them their job is to serve what we call the holistic child. And that's looking out for the physical, the social, emotional, providing some counseling, making connections to outside agencies that perhaps could be support, giving PD to our teachers. We've did a Healthy Grand Families program. We've done Strengthening Families program. They spearhead all of that. And so it would be hard pressed to think of another, at least in our area, our region, a rural place that's been able to provide these types of resources. And everybody always asks, well, how in the world did your test scores go from 50 that we were 53rd out of 55 counties in West Virginia in overall academic achievement in 2012, right? Wow. So 12 years ago, we were 53rd. Most recently, 3rd.
Wow.
So we have seen such an increase in our achievement scores. Our elementary math scores last year was around 65% proficient. Now I understand in other places, right? But in West Virginia, we were the #1 elementary school in the state of West Virginia. And so we've kind of gotten away from trying to compare ourselves to other West Virginia schools. We're trying to get our kids to compete nationally, right? This year, they're coming in even higher than that. I mean, of course, the data's still embargoed, but I will tell you this, they're even higher. And it's like, my goodness, what is taking place? Well, everyone's, how's that happen? How's that happen? Because of the Holistic Child Initiative. That's the first thing I go back to. What do you do different? This is what we do different. We view the kid, as a human being, someone that needs love, someone that needs support, someone that needs the basic things of life. And if you can give that kid that, and you bring some of these kids, that are growing up in these vicious cycles, you can kind of bring them up, right, to those kids that I hate to call them the have and the have-nots. That's not a good thing to say, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Those kids who have the support and who have the parental backing and who have the finances and the resources, let's get them to the level playing field, right? We're about creating equity. We're about creating an opportunity for every one of our kids to excel and grow. And that's what I say. That's what's happened. Right? Has it been something magical with the curriculum? Yeah. We got good teachers. We do. Right? But at the end of the day, what is different? Our focus on the holistic child. So we've seen good growth with that. And I was very happy that AASA wanted to do a little piece on that. And it was a good highlight for not just, my board or myself, but for Mr. Wugleman, who is our county mental health specialist. He was the first guy we hired in 2016, and he has now built this team that's just doing remarkable things for kids.
So, Adam, talk to me a little bit about how you engage your community in that work, because it doesn't happen with just the school personnel. You really do have to look at your local assets and dive into what they're able to bring to the table also. How did you do that? If there was somebody that was listening and said, you know what, I'm really intrigued and I think I want to do the same kind of thing, what would they do first, and how would they roll that out?
Yeah. So one thing that kind of inherited, I guess, in 2016 was it seemed like everybody was kind of working in their own silos a little bit. And that included the different schools. I mean, we've got one elementary, one middle, one high, and most recently we did open up a new early learning academy where we house our pre-K and our kindergarten. So we've got them together. We've got early childhood together now. And then 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12. And they were all kind of operating in their own silos, and so I could see early on that we needed to bring some unity, that we needed to extend the olive branch to the community, to the different schools, bring everybody together. And so what I would say is to start doing a series of what I called focus groups. You can call them what you will. But I had focus groups with each individual school by themselves, right? Got their input, got their information. I then had a focus group with community members. I then had a focus group with business leaders. I then had a focus group with the FRN, Family Resource Network, and then other agencies. We have one that's called Community Resources. Built a relationship with her, started doing that, had a focus group with current students. I've had a student advisory council for 8 years. Every year I have a new council. I listen to that council. And then had a focus group with past graduates. So like if you graduated on the last 4 or 5 years, I ask you to come back, talk to me, tell me, what did we do good? What did we do bad? Where did we mess up? How can we be better? And so taking all that information, bringing it together, putting the data down. We spend a lot of time looking at achievement score data, and we need to be doing that. But there's other auxiliary data pieces that we need to be collecting and breaking down, right? And looking at and saying, and this is one of those ones for us. And so from that point, brought everybody then, not every single person, but members, right, from those, brought them all together and kind of said, hey, we really need to get a mission statement that we community can rally around. Because at that point, the mission statement was kind of long. I mean, it was like a paragraph and a half. And you ask somebody, what's your mission statement? And like, we don't know, And so we want something simple, but we want something that will stick, something we can rally around. And so we came up with this, wanted to create a sense of urgency. And so we did Now is the Time, and then United to Make a Difference. Right. So we wanted to do something that said, hey, we're not waiting till tomorrow, it's today. But what are we going to do? We're going to come together and we're going to make a difference in the lives of our kids. And I've said from day one, everybody around this table, everybody in this community, in this system, we're not going to agree on every little detail. We won't. We're human. We're going to have different ways of thinking and doing things. But if we can always revert back to that mission statement and say, here's the deal. You see it that way, I see it this way. But at the end of the day, we are going to stay united for these kids, right? To make a difference if we keep the kids, if we keep the main thing, right? And so that's what we've did. When we launched the Holistic Child Department, and we were reaching out now to these agencies, they knew our motto, they knew our vision, they know our mission. We want to do what's good for kids. They do too, right? They're supporting the community. They're supporting parents. They're supporting grandparents. And so we early on established a common thread together. And so when we said, hey, we'd like to launch this, these agencies jump on board. In fact, our mental health specialist is a member of the FRN. He's a member of the DHHR, some of their boards. They all go hand in hand. There's a joint scholarship that our Holistic Child Department launched in partnership with the FRN, where they give monies to one of these students that's come through the Holistic Child Department, right? And so it's about communication, but it's about creating a vision that is unifying. Oh my goodness! In a day that so much division, so much, we're just like everyone's polar opposites, right? It's like, and there's no middle ground anymore. Whether you look at, let's look anywhere, right? And you never see common ground. That's what we've been able to do here, is to bring people together. We have an excess levy. And I remember promoting the excess levy, not this past cycle, but the one before that. And I went to the Lions Club and gave the presentation, talked about some of the things that we offer. Every kid eats for free in the county. And I remember one individual said, I don't like it. He said, I don't think I ought to be paying for somebody else's kid to eat, right? And that's the mindset that's out there. And I just looked at him, I said, listen, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, right? You're not setting in the position that I'm setting, or my board members are setting, or this school is setting. Seeing these kids come in and day out, knowing where they come from. We put all our teachers on school buses as part of a holistic child approach and one of our events, activities, and drove them around the county and showed them where their kids were living. I mean, when they came back and they debriefed, it was so impactful. Community members don't always see that, right? And so it's easy for us in today's age to go by what we see on the news or on social media or whatever, and come to these conclusions and come to these, what I would call, and not being critical, but very self-centered ideas, because we're never faced with actually seeing the reality that people are living in. And so I just looked at the individual and I said, hey, we're going to agree to disagree. I've got a job to do. That's educate these kids. You're right. They're not going to be educated if they're hungry, or if they got no clothes, or if they're getting, God forbid, but if they're getting abused or whatever, going through all this trauma. And the guy settled back a little bit, right? But reminded him, that's just one example, but reminded him of our mission statement and what it is. We're not always going to agree, but man, we got to be on board for kids. And so we've seen good growth with this, good success with this. And it is truly what we quote unquote hang our hat on, I guess you could say.
So you've mentioned that you had hyper academic growth. That's amazing to have gone from 53rd to 3rd in a very short period of time, really. Adam, what other celebrations or successes have come out of this partnership with your community?
Yeah, man, this is very passionate about what I'm about to talk about next too, right? I love the Holistic Child, and it is it's one of our greatest programs. But the other one that I would mention would be our public-private partnerships, and we've been able to develop what we call localized curriculum through these public-private partnerships. And this is probably where, we're not afraid to do things a little bit different. I would call this, and this has been called, as a pretty innovative approach to how we connect with industry and community. So for example, our very first one, I mentioned CityNet, was coming into the county. This was actually started prior to COVID, and then we all know that COVID slowed things way down. Sure. But CityNet came and they said, we'd like to bring internet to the county. Went to the county commission, talked to the school board, right? In a small rural county, you've got your county commission, you got your school board. That's kind of that's what you got, And so they came and they spoke with us. And I began to think, how neat would it be if we could connect our kids into what is an absolutely revolutionary concept for small rural Doddridge County our kids could forever say that they had a part in bringing broadband internet to our county. And so brought CityNet to the table. And I said, oftentimes when we bring businesses, what we do is we say, hey, listen, we really need a new scoreboard. And so if you can give us $2,000, we'll put your name up on that scoreboard. Mm-hmm. That's how we interact with business. I said, what if we interacted on a curricular level, right? Jointly develop a curriculum together within the state standards, right? So the State Department could approve it, but it would be a local program to where we can teach our kids the skills that you as industry need, right? And if we do that on the back end, you'll agree, CityNet or whatever company we partner with, to employ them, right? If they've got to go to college, then they'll go to college and the job will be waiting. If it's a job where they can just go right into the workforce with them, that job will be there. And so it was creating both, giving awareness to our kids as to what, is being offered and what the workforce looks like and what they need. But it also is providing the workforce for our local industry. And so CityNet said, yeah, we'd like to do that. So we partner with Jason Learning. And I don't know if you've heard of Jason Learning before, but I had become acquainted with them through the AASA STEM Consortium. And I had a fellow superintendent in West Virginia who was actually my superintendent growing up in Wirt County. And so now he and I are colleagues, He said to me, listen, Adam, you really need to, Mr. Ed Toman's his name, said you really need to jump on board with Jason. And in my first year, I was kind of like, everything, I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. But year two, I said, yeah, I'll go to the STEM Consortium, was introduced to them. And it's been for us, a beautiful, beautiful partnership. So they came on board as our curriculum developers. And so we had Jason, we had the industry, which at this point, CityNet, and we had our school all sitting around the table and saying, how can we make all this work? And we did. We got a joint curriculum and we pushed it into our entrepreneurship class. And so our entrepreneurship teacher teaches this unit. It's a unit that just fits in. We're not replacing, because I get asked that a lot. Wait a minute, how did you get around the State Department? No. We took the existing standards and we made them fit, right? Within this curriculum. And so she teaches it in her entrepreneurship class. So then obviously COVID, well, we talk about it, but it slowed things down a little bit. Well, we're now back to the point where CityNet's back engaged. And what's going to happen as they start turning people on in the community, firing up the internet, some of these people are going to be first-time internet users, right? Some of these folks are elderly and they struggle to know how to turn the computer on, right? I mean, and it's not their fault, right? It's just reality. And so what they can do is they will call in to our school, to our entrepreneurship kids, and give a help desk ticket. And our kids then will help these folks, again, basic technology type of, if there's a big internet concern, CityNet will come and do it. But you get the idea. They're getting real world hands-on experience. From that point, we did our engineering class with a local engineering company, Triple H. Did our HVAC with City Mechanical, local HVAC company. We've did our a course with Rank 1 Computing, an AI course with them. We've done, I'm probably missing one, MPLX, 8th grade science. MPLX is a local oil and gas plant I alluded to earlier. And there may even be one more floating out there. And so Hall's Drilling, our trucking with Hall's Drilling. So we had 6 of them at this point, and looking to continue to expand those. And they're already working. So last year, we had a boy by the name of Ethan, graduated in 2023, graduated on May 20th. The next day, he was in a City Mechanical truck, employed with a job. And so what does that do? It teaches kids how to be responsible citizens, to be to be active members of the community, productive members of the community. It also keeps them where? Right here in the region, right? Economically, and for West Virginia, who's losing people by the just droves, this curriculum, this concept can help keep these young people here. No, I'm not trying to hold them back, right? There are some that need to move on, but for some that want to stay home, well, now there's jobs. There's a pathway to do that. And so we've engaged with that, there's much more to it than that. But it has really brought substantial opportunity, for our kids. And one other thing I would add to that is we offer and actually require a career exploration credit in order for our kids to graduate, right? So every kid in Doddridge County High School has to take career exploration. And in this career class, we teach financial literacy. Kids don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to write a check, right? Some kids thought that if they had a credit card, they could just keep swiping that credit card and there was just credit on that. Sooner or later, you got to pay it, right? And so we got to teach these kids those skills. And this course also connects every kid, right, to a career of their choice that we bring industry in, we bring community members in, they speak to the kids, we do internships. My daughter's a freshman. Every Wednesday this semester, she's went to Travis Physical Therapy and she's interned for an hour and a half, first block of the day, gives them some experience, lets them see, hey, this is what I like, what I don't like. We employed a college and career readiness coordinator. This coordinator meets with every single kid, and we don't emphasize college over career. We are about the kid, right? And in fact, at this point, we got about 55% of our kids are on the CTE pathway, right? And that's fine, right? That is A-okay. And so this lady, Angie Summers is her name, phenomenal, meets with these kids and provides them every opportunity that she can. We offer over 300 dual credit opportunities at Doddridge County High School. There are people that our high school operates like a small college. I use my daughter, for example. She first block, she'll go and she'll job shadow. Second block, she may have English 9. Third block, she may be online taking a college course to fulfill associate's degree path that we offer. Fourth block, she had PE. So we got kids coming and going, and we just got every opportunity that we give to these kids. And again, it's been done, to circle back to your question, as a community effort. And that's been what I would say the secret to our success. We've done things together. We've served the holistic child. We've not been afraid to be innovative and do things a little bit different. And at the end of the day, we've kept it about kids.
And now a word from our sponsors. So Adam, what you're talking about as far as that engagement piece is amazing. And it makes me think about place-based education, which is making sure that you are tapping into what your community has to offer. And you have done that so well. And if you would talk a little bit about, you mentioned that students have an opportunity to stay. Is there a concern in your area that students were leaving? And we know when they leave, the community is in danger of dying, quite frankly. Right. And so how has your community changed or shifted as a result of the programming that you're offering?
Great question. So in our state, yes, people are leaving our state. Our governor, who actually just got elected to be the U.S. Senator, he served 8 years, but he spent a lot of time over his tenure as governor trying to convince people to stay in West Virginia, right? And so he has done a lot of work through tourism. He's done a lot of work in bringing businesses in, bringing jobs in. And then I've always said this, that here in little old Doddridge County, we like what you're doing, Governor, but we believe we can keep kids here by education, right? Like that is, let's not forget that. Let's not forget that. And so, yeah, places around us have been leaving. What we have seen in Doddridge County since we started this, really started this program, the College and Career Readiness Program, and really engaging with multiple industries in 2021, right? Coming out of COVID when we started, that's when we really started. We have seen our enrollment go from 1,079 students to 1,155. So we're seeing our enrollment go up. We've seen community, the population is starting to increase. We've got businesses coming in, CPV as a company coming in, their electrical power plant. They've just said, hey, we're going to come to Doddridge County. So they're going to be building the plant about 10 miles from the school. We've had other industry that's coming. So what we're seeing in Doddridge County is we're seeing an enrollment boost. And we're seeing, well, let me give you this example too. We have 0 uncertified teachers. We are 100% certified. We have no teaching vacancies in our district.
Wow.
We are the only county in West Virginia that has 100% certified teachers in every position. And we've created some things, right? We've done some things a little bit. We're totally certified. Why is that? Because people are starting to see, oh my, look at the opportunities that these kids are having, right? And look at the growth and people want to be a part of that. And so we're starting to see kids come to us, not for athletic purposes, but because their parents are saying, we can't get these opportunities where we're at, right? And so yeah, we're seeing a pretty good increase there. Our graduation rate was in 2015 was 94%. Last 2 years been 100%,
Wow.
right? So we're seeing some improvement there. So while the rest of the state might be seeing some departure, we're actually seeing some growth. And I alluded to athletics a little bit ago. I probably could have done this in the opening about rural schools. Athletics in rural communities are very important, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so we have seen so much growth that we actually, this past year, going in the next year, got bumped up from single A, being one of the smallest schools. We're now in double A. And so that has not been great for everybody, but just to give you an idea of we are indeed growing, when the numbers came out, they bumped us up a classification. So yeah, we're seeing some good growth in that area, and I do believe it is from some of this that we're offering.
Mm. You mentioned your governor, and you and I both know as superintendents, advocacy is just something that we are very bound to do for our community, making sure that rural voice is elevated for our policymakers and influencers, whether it's at our local level, state level, even our national level discourse for what's good for students. What, in your view, is important for people in West Virginia to know that you've been a part of making sure that is elevated so that they do know and can make better decisions from the seats that they take at that state government level?
Yeah, this is something that I've taken very, very seriously, to take advantage of the opportunity to meet with not just the governor, but our local delegates and our local senators. And so I made it a habit of, when they're in session, I'm usually down there at least 2 times. 2 years ago, I was actually the president of the West Virginia Superintendent Association. And so serving in that role actually took me down there a little bit more. But I can remember we went through a few teacher strikes back in 2018, and even another one in 2019. 2018 was like a 9-day teacher strike. Spent a lot of time down there, found myself on the radio, Metro News down there. And so I kind of became a voice, and I don't even know that I was going to do that, but it ended up happening. And so I've always felt like the community, and again, I'm responsible for Doddridge County at this point, right? That's what but I always wanted them to know that, hey, we are paying attention as to what's going on in Charleston, in the nation's capital, and our voice for rural America, for rural West Virginia, it needs to be heard, and I'm going to be that, right? I'm going to be that advocate. I'm going to be that person. But it doesn't go in with malice or with any type of anger or anything like that, but to go in as professional and say, listen, I got 1,200 kids. They need the best education that we can possibly provide them. And if it's finances, if we need more monies, then we advocate for more monies. If it's more support, I've been a big advocate. We've been able to do this holistic child department primarily. We just budget for it, right? We just make it a priority. But I would advocate that this is something that needs to be replicated in the other 54 counties in West Virginia. So let's get some support for that, right? School safety is another area that we've had a lot of conversation with. And I am happy to say that they've passed legislation requiring school resource officers in each building. There's some monies attached to it, so they're making some progress in that area. And so advocacy it's not something that, when I first started, I remember one of the first meetings, they said, how many of you think that you are a politician? Right. And nobody really raised their hand. We were all first time to them. And then we had another meeting in October and it said, okay, now how many of you now think that you better know just a little bit about politics? And everyone's like, okay, yeah. And we all raise our hand, and so being able to do that I would call advocate, right? On behalf of our kids, but dealing with these politicians, is it something that you thought maybe was part of the job? But it's a big, big part of the job. And it's important that your community and that your state knows that your voice is being heard. So I would always go down. I'd take a picture with the senator. I'd take a picture with the delegate. I'd take a picture with the governor, and I just put it out, right? Hey, and this is what we talked about. Right? This is, so what does that do? Well, first of all, it shows the community, okay, he's down there advocating for our kids. But what it also does is it really puts a little pressure on that politician, right? Because I'm saying, hey, this is what we talked about. This is kind of what we see as the need. Okay, constituents, when they come, are they doing what it is that the local education, you see what I mean? So kind of was a two-edged sword there a little bit. But big piece to what I've done. And I think what every superintendent needs to do. And to be honest with you, I've enjoyed that part of it. Some people don't like it, but I've been okay with it.
So one of the things I always ask my guests, Adam, is what does the term rural advantage mean to you? Because I think that you would agree that living in a rural community does have its advantages. So what does that mean to you?
I love that. Oftentimes when we think of rural education, or just, let me say this, just rural America, not everybody views that as an exciting opportunity, right? And I don't know if it's because, when we see things on social media, we see it on the news, and everybody highlights the big and the rich and the famous and where they're at, and, and how we categorize our VIPs, our very important people, it just seems to be all kind of upside down. I think rural advantage, means this: getting a chance to know people by name, getting a chance to develop community, to love one another, to support one another, to live together. I do a little bit of farming, right? And so just kind of a recently new thing, right? But we got a couple of hogs, we got some steer, we got some chickens, and I love that, right? On the family farm, there's just something to be said about being able to connect with your neighbors and not being always in the hustle and bustle of life. And so I do think living in rural America, rural West Virginia, serving a rural school system is an advantage because I can walk down the hallways. I know these kids by name.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when I started in 2016, they asked me, the board said, you're young, right? 31 years old. And not that they could use that as a qualification or whatever, but they knew. And they said, what would make you different? What? And I said, well, let me tell you this. I said, number one, I know every kid in this system. I coached high school football. I was the assistant principal at the elementary school, and I taught at the middle school for 2 years prior to that. I said, so I've had exposure to every kid in this system. You can only do that in a small rural place, right? I said, I also know every staff. I was a teaching staff. I oversee the elementary staff, and by coaching football, I had interaction with the high school staff. I said, I know all the staff members. I said, I'm a minister in this community. Right. I preached here for now about 3 or 4 years. At that point, about 3 or 4 years. I said, so I'm engaged in that. I was did some youth ministry, so I had a lot of kids. So that was an advantage to me, right? As I'm able to sit to that board and say, listen, I know this community. I know what they like, what they don't like, what they want, what they don't want. Anybody else you bring in from the outside, they're going to have that, right? I'm here. My wife is from here. We are rooted here. And I just think that's so important. And now more than ever in my life, I just think the simplicity of living in a smaller place, right? And just the contentment that you find, knowing that if you need something, that your neighbor will be right there to help you. Right. And that I can do the same thing for them. And together we can help kids succeed. I just think I love that rural advantage. It is an advantage. And let's quit thinking of it, as some type of, people are less than they are not as smart there or whatever it might be. That's crazy. All that's crazy. It is an advantage to live in a rural community. And I've recently jumped on board, that was about a year ago, with a group out of South Carolina that's called the Rural Growth Initiative. And so they reached out to me. They saw me at a conference in Richmond, Virginia. And the leader of that group, it was just starting July 2023, said, hey, would you, what's your thought about just not only being a rural superintendent, but is this who you are? Right? Like, are you? And I was like, yeah, that's who I am. Won't you come on? So I've been an advisory board member with this group, and this group is looking to go into rural areas and not just from an education standpoint, but from an industry standpoint, from a commerce standpoint, just to bring hope back to rural America. And so when I think about the rural advantage, from an educator standpoint, I want to bring hope to our kids. I want to see them succeed. From I'm not ashamed, right? From a preacher standpoint, I want to bring hope, right, to a community of people, and so that initiative that launched, I was quick to jump on board with that, right? And so looking forward to that opportunity. I don't know where that might go, going into rural communities that just need some help and need some hope, and being able to support them. And so, yeah. I am all in rural education, rural America, and I'm going to use rural advantage.
Well, that was a fantastic answer. That's one of the best ones I've ever heard, Adam.
Oh.
But it really does come down to the community, doesn't it? It's the advantage of living in a close-knit community. So a little sneak peek. You are going to be joining us here in Arizona for the Arizona Rural Schools Association's annual conference. That's going to be October 2nd and 3rd in Flagstaff, Arizona. And you are actually going to be our keynote the morning of October 3rd. Can you give us just a little taste about what you're going to be sharing with us? We don't want to give away the whole enchilada, but maybe a little bit of the cheese on top.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad I was hoping you would ask. And I actually alluded a little bit earlier about this concept of how our young people and even adults today, it's almost like we've been trained or ingrained to consider VIPs, very important people, the amount of money that you have, right? The kind of car you drive, the job title that you might have, whether you live in Hollywood or New York City, or you see what I mean. Maybe you're a politician. And I'm not downplaying that, but I would argue this, that the real VIPs are those leaders that have vision, integrity, and purpose, right? And so I have a message that I hope to bring hope and encourage the educators in Arizona that you are the real VIPs, right? And you can do that by having a vision to serve kids, right? Not being afraid to do things a little bit different, be a little bit innovative. You can do that by having integrity, doing things the right way, being a person that's going to stand up for kids and going to stand on your beliefs and stand on your morals, and then remembering always what your true purpose and calling is. And so I hope to bring a message that will encourage, inspire, motivate, and just want to come out there and, like I said, be an encouragement to people and just tell people that the world's view of VIP, that's great. But I believe that educators, especially rural educators, there's your real VIPs.
I love it. I'm looking forward to hearing more and can't wait to welcome you to our conference, Adam. Thank you so much for being willing to come out and share some of your wisdom with us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and cannot wait.
So is there anything as we get ready to sign off that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure that our listeners know?
I don't think. I think that we, hit on all the big parts that I kind of wanted to bring up. But I would just say this, that very excited about the opportunity to be in Arizona, and do believe that some of the work that's been done here in Doddridge County has been a true team effort. I think it can be replicated, though. I think that some of the things, the ups and the downs that we have seen in rural West Virginia can translate to other parts of the nation. And that's really what I want to do. Just want to bring hope. Just want to bring a story that says, hey, this is not what Adam did. This is what a community of people that just got to the place where they said, you know what, we want to what's best for kids. And that's kind of our story. And so yeah, I think I think we hit on all the high points, and just an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Adam, for spending some time with me. It was a wonderful opportunity to get to know you better ahead of the conference, and really appreciate that you were able to share some wisdom with the listeners today.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rural Scoop. Please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, or even leave us a comment. And be sure to follow on Twitter at Dr. Sadorf. That's Dr_SADORF, so that you never miss a new release. You can also check out previous episodes of The Scoop wherever you get your podcasts. Production support for the Rural Scoop is provided by Chattanooga Podcast Studios. Find out more at ChattanoogaPodcastStudios.com. See you next time for more great discussions about rural education.